Cool. I started recording. We'll give like 1 more minute for hopefully more people to join, and then we can start.
Can everyone hear me bad or only Pain?
It's worse now.
I didn't change anything.
It's, I mean, we can hear you. It's a little bit in the distance and muffled.
Right, I think we can start. Let me bring up on screen the notes for today and we can go over them. Alright, cool. Okay, welcome everyone to Indexer Office Hours number 27th. This is going to be just a normal meeting as we used to have, nothing really out of the ordinary that is worth discussing apart from a few improvements on the Ethereum nodes after the London hard fork. And I'm curious to see if anyone had any issues with like kinds of Open Ethereum or Aragon. We had a bunch of issues with Aragon, but let's go over Open Ethereum first. Or maybe even Geth if anyone is running it, but I doubt. No, anyone? Well, I'll start with what I've noticed with Aragon. So we updated to I believe 21 8 something, the very latest version, and immediately after that it started doing something weird with the database, basically recreating indexes and stuff. And after that it basically pushed my read IO to like 1 or 2 gigabit per second, and it's crashing the RPC daemon every time I'm trying to do any kind of trace calls for any subgraphs. Like, yeah, it starts and then crashes and then starts again and then crashing, which is very weird. Is anyone here running the latest version of Aragon and saying similar things? I will. I have another like backup. I'm trying to find out if that one is also behaving the same. But yeah, anyone here running it? Okay, I'll take that as a no. Let's move on. All right. I think we can talk about Stake Machine's Ansible automation tool that he released I think last week. Stake Machine, are you around to talk about it for a few minutes?
Yeah, but better to ask questions because we have a thorough introduction a few months ago and nobody was interested in it.
It doesn't matter. You can go over it again and refresh everyone's memory. Maybe you can spark some interest coming from others.
Yeah, sure. So basically, it's just a collection of roles that are ready to use, and you can describe any kind of infrastructure setup that you want to run with a single command like infrastructure as code. Some of indexers already tried it, and it works just from the box almost all the time, but we can enhance it with the more different deployments strategies, because for now it's only 2 playbooks that shows how to run it on a single node, and the second one shows how to run each component on the separate node. with the help of the WireGuard, it connects all the different nodes, and each node can be in different data centers, but they all will be interconnected during encrypted VPN based on WireGuard. And from your laptop or any workstation, you can just connect to this web VPN and view Grafana via this secured connection, and all others management will be made via an encrypted connection, so it's more secure, and only Indexer service will be published to the public internet.
Sounds good. When you say nodes, you're referring to different machines, right? Or servers, whatever you want to call it.
Could you repeat it?
When you say nodes, are you referring to different machines? For example, running the database in on another machine?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Is it using Docker in any part of it, or is it just compiling from source and?
It has a few different components, so you can run Postgres in Docker and bare metal, but all other components are only in Docker.
Oh, sounds good.
Do you have the Postgres on a separate database, and do you connect to Postgres via WireGuard from the graph node?
Yeah.
So how much latency or performance impact did you measure doing that via this encrypted connection?
It's all, the latency is the same as your latency between the hosts. It doesn't add lots of overhead.
Interesting. I was living under the impression that it should. Would you push like loads of requests, maybe like hundreds of requests per second from some HTTP endpoint? Would you also tunnel that through the WireGuard VPN?
I didn't test it much, but simple pings and so on shows the latency almost the same. And of course, we will have an overhead on CPU, and depends on the number of queries and so on. We will see how will it degrade the performance.
Yeah, I know from my own experience that secure VPN adds a lot of overhead on CPU, which, to support Goldberg's thoughts, it might add some latency when you're talking about like hundreds of requests per second. But I think we're a bit far away from that point, at least for a few months.
Anyway, you can replace the WireGuard VPN with the local network if your dedicated servers are interconnected in some kind of local network and data center supports it. So you can change the connection from WireGuard to just local network, and it will be in your private network.
Do you also support database sharding? Because I imagine if you set up just a cluster in some VPS environment where you are limited in disk space, you might just want to spin up 5 Postgres to have like 1.5 terabyte or something.
No, sharding isn't supported yet.
Interesting. Do you have how are the graph nodes working? By like regularly passing the flags to them, or is it through the config file? Did you manage to implement that as well?
There is a variables file, so you can configure it to manage the environment variables. So everything is configurable with the single config file.
Yeah, but I meant to have the to have Grafman working. You know that you have to have the TOML files for the graph nodes in the like read by the graph nodes when they boot, or you can pass them in Grafman. But
I got it. Yeah, no, it doesn't support config files yet. Also, it was done before they came to us.
Okay, cool. So I think you should make that a priority, in my opinion, because like it's very important to have the ability to to manage your subgraphs from the CLI.
Yeah, for sure.
Especially like the thing that I find the most useful is Graphman Rewind, because like we often times find our database just diverging from the regular POIs on the network, and then we easily find the divergent block. We just rewind an epoch behind that, and we just nuke the subgraphs back to that point, and ETH cache, and then magically everything works again more often than not. So it's very useful. It's a very useful tool to have.
100%. Yeah, used it a lot.
Yeah, so you should make that a priority, definitely. Right, anything else you want to discuss about your tool, or should we move on?
We can move on. If anybody have questions, can just point me in Discord.
All right. Before we jump into more complex things, should we talk about Repo Watch? Goldberg, is there anything you want to talk? I know you posted a bunch of links.
Yeah, there's nothing really that sticked out to me, but I was happy to see that the work on the Firehose is going on. I also saw that there was something released. I forgot what exactly it was, and it was just a small piece to get the Firehose into the graph node, I think, just refactoring the config format, but it's one step in the direction. And yeah,
maybe Josh can talk about it for a few minutes. Josh, are you around?
I'm definitely the wrong person for Streaming Fast to talk about it.
You can maybe give it a shot though.
I can maybe jump in here, which is that so there was a couple of upgrade PRs, particularly to Tokyo and I think Futures, which were just kind of version bumps, but quite big ones, which was sort of pre-work, which Streaming Fast team had merged in, but sort of so last week, or maybe the week before, those were merged in, and then we sort of tested them because we saw some regressions last time we tried to upgrade Tokyo, and that seemed to all have worked out okay this time, which means that we're basically unblocked to start integrating the streaming, the Firehose. I think that's going to be a bunch of PRs and a bunch of work. But yeah, hopefully that's it's ongoing, and it's currently for like Ethereum at the outset.
Awesome. Cool. Great to hear that. I know that the Streaming Fast guys just open sourced a bunch of repositories. I meant to go over them, I think last week, but I haven't had time. And I'm probably trying this week. I might need access to a BSC endpoint to sync PancakeSwap, but I'll see what I can do.
You don't need endpoints. You need to run the MindReader first, which is a modified version of the BSC full node. Same with all the other chains.
Oh, okay.
What's the MindReader? I'm right now syncing a BSC full node, but what's the MindReader? What does it do different?
Basically, it's an instrumented version of the node. So it's the same software with a few additional stuff that they put in so that it's compatible with the work that they want it done. So in theory, you could use the Streaming Fast version of the binary and run a regular full node with it. But the fact that it's instrumented allows you to run the MindReader, and the MindReader is basically the part of the Firehose stack that is responsible for processing the blocks from the blockchain as they come in, and that's the first step to do that. You need still to have your connection with the blockchain network that you're interested in, and that prepares basically an internal format of merged blocks by the group by 100 blocks, and then from there on you can run the Sparkle. So there's a lot of names, so there's a lot of information that you need to get into your own brain to be able to run that. But it starts with a mind reader, and then you move on from that.
Cool, thank you. I'm definitely interested to get this into my brain.
Yeah, we're going to be having a Firehouse channel created within the Discord server here, so that we can move the conversation into the Graph Discord. So Alex will be leading that, and definitely invite you all to join.
Oh, that sounds good. Thank you very much. Cool. One thing I wanted to point out. Let me see if I can find the post. Right, so there's a pull request on the graph node side. It says Graphman commands for interacting with POI dispute service. Ford, are you available to talk about it, or do you know what is it useful for, or what it does?
Well,
Hey,
so
yeah, I'm here. What was the topic you were referencing? I didn't hear the beginning.
There's a pull request on the graph node side called Graphman commands for interacting with POI dispute service. I reckon is something.
Yeah. So I've
yeah.
hinted at that. I believe in the last office hours, maybe also the Aragon chat that we had. That's a dispute and POI divergence analysis tool that we are working on. That's basically completely automating a lot of the investigation work that I've been doing and some of you have been doing around POI divergence. So just a quick overview of that. That's a server that can compare POI tables and then also compare entity changes, identifying divergent blocks and POIs, and then trying to root cause those. It's also a corresponding additional feature in the Graphman CLI so that you guys as indexers can run simply a command to export your POI tables and send those to the analysis server. And then an additional command on the next step to export additional information for debugging. This is like in working progress right now, and it's being tested, and hopefully by the end of the week or next week it's going to be deployed and ready to be used by you guys.
Awesome, that sounds really good and very helpful. Thank you very much. For one thing I wanted to ask you, is that the server, wherever the files are sent, is it hard-coded in or can be made so we can like pass the POIs around in a way, like between indexers?
The goal is to have that be generalized so you guys can use it to share between yourselves, or just use it to simply dump the data onto your server and then do whatever you want with it, analyze it, run scripts on it, share it with each other. I believe the VZO right now doesn't have that, but that's definitely the goal.
Yeah, I was looking at the commands written in the PR and doesn't have a clear where those. Oh yeah, no, never mind. It said dispute service host at the last one.
Yeah, so you can specify a host right now, and then I'm gonna add an additional feature so you can specify, like a file location and just dump it out to whatever server location you want.
That's awesome. Cool. Thank you very much. This will be very much appreciated by many of us that are doing active investigation.
Yeah, hopefully this can remove a bunch of the friction and help you guys collaborate amongst yourselves, and then help us identify any issues that come up as you're using new clients or potentially in the graph node.
Yeah, definitely. Sounds really good. Thank you very much. Cool. One more It's not even a PR yet, it's just a draft. But Yannis opened something called Manual Allocation Management. I think this was after. Oh no, this is an old one, but it was referenced by Stake Machine with his latest issue in the Indexer repo. Stake Machine, do you want to call to talk about it for a few minutes?
We had a discussion, I guess, a few indexers hours before, and Ford mentioned that Yanis already made some work on the off-chain subgraph syncing that doesn't need to restart agent, and this API is will be an essential tool for the job of all indexers that want to pre-sync subgraphs to find out if it's viable to sync it and get the reward. So I think that if Ford can give any update, and I think he mentioned today that he planned some work on it on this week, so it would be nice to hear it.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a super valuable, from what I can tell from feedback. Just to give some background, like the general idea is to add features to the Indexer CLI to allow for manual control of allocations instead of just indexing rules. This will fit more with some of the patterns of behavior I've seen in how many indexers use the Indexer agent, and then have to do sometimes custom things like submit 0 POIs or submit POIs for older epochs, and all this kind of individual allocation management, as well as some of the stuff that's come up in the chat recently around setting an allocation to not reallocate if it's closed with a 0 POI, and some of this more custom stuff, as well as cross-checking POIs before closing allocations, and giving the option to close that allocation with a 0 POI or other options. So this is super valuable, and I'm going to be working on this next as far as engineering work. Right now, I'm working on and finishing up transactions in EIP 1559 style, so type 2 transactions, which I believe is also a pain point, and that should really help with improving the gas estimations and transaction robustness in the agent. And then after that, I'm going to be working on this manual allocation management, which I'll be sharing plans with you guys because I really value all your feedback and the experience you guys have had up to this point.
All right, cool. That's awesome. I'm really happy to hear that. Cool. Do you have an ETA for the London EIP, whatever? I'm just very curious on how it works, and maybe we could test it on the testnet whenever it's ready.
Yeah, today or tomorrow, I'm hoping to have that PR'd at least, and then I'd love to get some of you guys testing that as soon as we can on testnet.
Awesome, cool. Please keep us posted. Yeah, thank you very much. Let me see if there's anything else I have on my list here. Yeah, cool. I think we're done with the repo watch unless anyone else wants to add something before we move on. Goldberg?
No, that was what I found.
Okay, cool. Ford, is there anything else we should discuss, or should we move on? You know more things than I do when it comes to PRs.
I think we've covered the important stuff as far as GraphNode and Indexer components, current work, and PRs.
Awesome, cool. Then we move on. Let me open back the public notes. Right, so next on the list, just wanted to let you guys know that Joseph from Figment has made an initial forum post, which I'm gonna link in the chat in a few seconds, introducing Figment's tech and plans for graph integration and improvements. Joseph, are you with us today? I see you in the voice chat, but I can't hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. There's a wedding next to me, and at some point there are going to be some fireworks. Don't be afraid when you hear the noises.
Right.
Yes.
Cool. Would you want to? Would you want to talk about your forum post and just give us a TLDR of everything that you've written there, just to spark some interest from maybe other people that are listening?
Yeah, sure. So our objective is we were actually researching ways to index multiple blockchains, and we come up with a way that we think it could be beneficial for the entire network, and this is like something like a unified process. And we defined some concepts like network graph and network graph API, and we also talked about GraphQL. But of course, as all of you know right now, that there's a lot of discussions on this topic with Streaming Fast as well. So we are actually also researching ways that our own solution could collaborate with Firehorse and Streaming Fast. So we are actually researching ways to see how both of them could fit. And in the next few days, I think maybe tomorrow, after tomorrow, we're going to be releasing our more technical documentation for everyone to see.
Okay, cool. Thank you very much. That sounds really great.
Yeah, pleasure.
All right, let's move on to whatever I have left here before we move into arbitration. 1 second. Oh yeah, cool. So the subgraph availability oracle. I'm not sure if there's anyone that can talk in more details about it. Maybe we can get Ariel for the next week. But there's multiple subgraphs as a TLDR. There's multiple subgraphs on the decentralized protocol right now that have been hit by the subgraph availability oracle. And basically, whenever those subgraphs contain are using IPFS mappings or indexing other networks than ETH mainnet, I believe, they will be shut down for receiving indexing rewards. So that means you cannot mint rewards from those subgraphs. Interesting enough, those rewards are still being accumulated on those subgraphs, and you basically just can't mint them. What doesn't matter if you submit the right POI, they will basically just be treated like a 0x POI in this case. And the way it works, basically, for each subgraph that has at least 100 GRT signal on them, the subgraph availability oracle will check if it contains features that are not supported in the network, and it will decide if it's gonna shut down the rewards for it or not. The problem here is that some indexers have said that last week there was a subgraph called 0x Exchange that was working fine for some time, and then it was suddenly hit by the subgraph availability oracle, and the rewards have been turned off for it. Meaning everyone who have been allocating to it and stayed allocated for the last, I don't know, whenever it first came around, and they didn't close their allocations, that means they lost all their rewards. yeah, and some indexers are apparently not now choosing to ignore subgraphs with less than 100 signal in case the subgraph availability oracle turns them off. But this is just for awareness. I would love to have someone to talk more about the subgraph availability oracle, probably in the next meeting that we'll have next week. I'll see what I can do.
Do you have questions about the oracle? Leo wrote it. I reviewed it. It's a service that we run on EdgeNode infrastructure that does what you outlined.
Yeah, I'm very curious. Is more a particular question regarding this specific subgraph. I was just curious why it wasn't denied at first, and then the subgraph availability oracle came back and denied it after. But I already asked Ariel, and we'll probably look into it later and keep you.
Yeah, we'll have to report back on the specifics on that case. But basically, what it does is you outlined it well. But it basically every 5 minutes, I believe, on an interval, it looks at all subgraph deployments on the network, looks at what networks they're supporting, and then what features they have, and it denies them if they have any unsupported features or networks, which right now is just IPFS or non-Ethereum mainnet networks. So yeah, we'll have to look closer at that specific case and try to root cause why the subgraph availability oracle missed it potentially.
Cool. Well, I have a very probably dumb question, but if I'm looking at the subgraph code on GitHub, how can I know that it's using IPFS or not? Where exactly should I look into? The mappings?
It's in the mappings. Yeah, I believe the availability oracle looks for the specific function signature for the IPFS cat, which is the only IPFS function, I believe, using the mapping. So you can look at mappings, and if they're open source, it's easy to detect. Otherwise, you have to look at the compiled code, which is a little bit more complex.
Sounds good.
Yeah, so
go ahead.
I can jump in here, and this is actually relating to the arbitration charter. There's a PL that's in progress, and this is to sort of enable easier detection of features that a subgraph uses. And so there'll be an endpoint added to GraphNode, where you'll essentially be able to pass a subgraph hash, and it will essentially return what features it's using. And one of those features is IPFS. The others are full text search, and grafting, and non-fatal errors. So so that's not released yet, but that's in progress, which should make it much easier. Where you can, if you've got the subgraph hash, you can literally just check the features it's using.
Sounds good. Thank you. I'm also curious. I had another question related to this, but it just flew off my mind. Give me a second. Oh yeah. So I was looking at this a subgraph that apparently has been marked by the subgraph availability oracle, and it's clear to me that when I go to the Explorer page, it says clearly that it's been turned off from receiving rewards. But I looked at the mappings and I couldn't find any IPFS. I knew about IPFS cat, and I grepped for it and couldn't find any reference there. So
another important thing it checks for that I did not mention in my summary is that it ensures that all files for that subgraph are actually available. So the subgraph manifest has references to the schema, the mapping files, ABI files, and those are all hosted on IPFS. Those are all required to actually sync that subgraph. And if the subgraph availability oracle tries to hit any of those files and can't reach them, it will mark that subgraph as denied as well. So that's one of the functions it does, is it makes sure that the subgraph is fully available for all indexers.
This is a bit scary, knowing that IPFS is a bit unreliable. How many times it tries before it turns it off? I wonder if it's. I mean, I don't think it's rechecking. Like once a subgraph has passed, it doesn't recheck later, right?
It does. It rechecks it every time.
Oh crap! Okay.
Yeah. So IPFS determinism is an ongoing issue that we have some people doing active research there, and definitely something that needs to be improved upon.
Yeah, but I was just thinking, like, what if the subgraph availability oracle randomly checks, let's say, SushiSwap, and one of the files they're using is not available at the time he's is looking for it? Will it turn it off? And then, like, another 5 minutes later, it checks again and re-enables it, or how does it work?
Yep, that's right. So we are using that's trying to use a canonical IPFS endpoint, so everyone's using the same endpoint. So we're reducing some of the issues with files being propagated around the network. But yeah, there is still the potential that files aren't available at a specific point in time. That's one of the reasons why the oracle checks again and again instead of sticking with a sticky state once it denies something. So if a file is only not available at one point in time, the deny status will be updated shortly.
Okay, that's reassuring. Thank you. Yeah, I think I don't have any more questions about it. Anyone else has any questions, or can we move on?
This could potentially bring indexers in problems when they are reaching the maximum allocation lifetime, when theoretically everything should be fine and it's flagged as down, and you're waiting for it to come up, but you're also looking at the deadline and potentially one of your delegators submitting a 0 POI on behalf of you.
Yeah, that's a really good point there, Coin. I just hope we won't get into that situation, to be honest. Is there a subgraph where I can check the subgraph availability oracle progress or anything like that?
On the mainnet network subgraph, you can check. It has a denied at field, I believe.
Yeah, I know about it.
Subgraph entity. Is that what you're?
Yeah, is that the only thing I can check? But I was thinking maybe I could get like a list of dates, like whenever it goes. I mean, I can still use time travel queries, right, to get like all historical data.
Yeah. So that'll all be on the subgraph. I don't currently have a view into that in the UI or any easier way that I know of to get at that.
Okay, I might suggest we put that into the Explorer just for more clarity. But I was thinking, maybe like if I'm using the denied at field, if the subgraph gets denied and then re-enabled, will that deny at turn into null, or what does it happen? Would it still stay flagged at some random point?
I can't say for sure. I can't say for sure. I believe it'll be null if the denied at status changes to it's not denied. But we'd have to confirm that in the subgraph mappings. I don't know that off the top of my head.
Yeah, I can ask Juan after the call. Sucks that he's not here. Would have been helpful. But yeah, thank you very much. Anything else, Coin, that you want to point out, or any other questions from any other people that are listening here? Oh, one more thing I want to ask you for it. Why is the subgraph availability oracle only checking subgraphs with more than minimum signal? Is there a reason apart from like economic attacks against like the ETH that the subgraph availability oracle has, or what exactly is the plan there?
I don't have insight into the background on that decision, but I believe it's just resource management and making sure that the availability oracle is working in a robust way and not overloaded by any attacks with the economics being cheap on low signal subgraphs. But
Okay,
I can
cool,
get back
yeah.
to you guys that on next week if we think of it again.
Yeah, that would be great. Thank you. Cool. We have about 15, 17 more minutes till the hour. Should we talk about the arbitration? We have I have it on my list, a bunch of things I want to discuss. Let me just open it back once. Right, cool. So there's multiple GDRs open with healthy discussions, which are likely to pave the way for interactions between indexers and fishermen in the future. Some concerns in the indexer community. We have some concerns in the indexer community that the process could be open to abuse if there are constant draws ruled. Incentives for fishermen to spam as basically disputes are less concerned about losing their initial 10k GRT for raising a dispute, which is true. Right now, I think we had I think 9 disputes on P2P that have been set with a status which was draw. The rest of them are still open. I think we have like 20 or something disputes open in the whole network right now, but only for a single indexer have been set a status which was draw. But we'll come back to that later. And indexers are concerned that the arbitration charter is still not ratified by the Graphs Council after a considerable time, which is, I think, more than 4 months now since it was first released. I'm not entirely sure if or who should we ask about this, because I don't think we have anyone from the council in this discussion.
I believe the biggest current holdup on the charter is technical work on the graph node to align with the current state of the charter, especially around failed subgraphs. So there's ongoing work in graph node that I believe should be done pretty soon to update the way POIs are generated so that indexers can come to consensus on a failed subgraph and how it failed. Right now, POIs are only valid up until the block before failure, but after the update, a POI can be generated on the failed block and then submitted on chain, and then indexers can come to consensus around failed subgraphs, and we can remove some of the exceptions in the charter around submitting old POIs for failed subgraphs.
Sounds good.
Thank you for that technical explanation. Maybe just a little bit more color to it from a council's perspective, as it's also reflected in the meeting notes last week. The council has keen awareness on sort of the status and has made the ratification of the charter priority. So, in addition to Ford's explanation, that's essentially sort of like where we are right now, but very much aware, at the council level that they want to see that ratified as quickly as possible as well.
Cool. Thank you, Oliver. Do we have an estimated time for that to, or for actually for the graph node improvements to be live?
What was that? Sorry, like.
Yeah, Ford mentioned we're waiting for some improvements in the graph node to align with like stuff like failed subgraphs and all that stuff. Yeah. Do you guys have an ETA until we get that implemented in the graph node?
Well, so one of the things is the thing I mentioned around feature detection, and the other is the failed subgraph thing. I think we've been going back and forth about the best way to implement that in the least disruptive way. Don't have like a specific ETA, but like it's being currently worked on. It's not expected to be too big.
Yeah, my only concern is that we've been waiting for the arbitration charter to be ratified by the council for like 4 months now, and there's still lots of confusion happening in the network, lots of fear that people might get slashed for doing apparently not. I mean, they're just syncing a broken subgraph that still has signal and stuff like that, which is very concerning to have this kind of stress from the indexer side for such a long amount of time, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, yeah. So both those things are in progress, happening as so hopefully as fast as they can.
Cool. Love to hear that. Thank you very much. Right. Regarding the concerns that fishermen are spamming the network with disputes, Ford, I believe there's 3 people in the arbitration team, right? There's you, Yanis, and Ariel, I believe. Do you guys think you three are enough to handle the possible spam in the future? Because right now, I think fishermen are not really concerned about losing their GRT, so they'll keep spamming until things change.
Good question. Yeah, I think, with this tool I mentioned earlier to automate much of this process, and with us honing in the arbitration charter in the next month, and some of these other tools coming in, I think we'll be able to keep it in line, but I'll keep you guys posted.
Sounds good.
Also, just an update, I believe we'll have some forum posts coming today and tomorrow on a few of the open disputes and some resolutions by the end of the week. I won't give too much more detail, but I'll have a long forum post for you guys to read.
Uh-oh, should I go popcorn?
Popcorn's tasty.
Cool. I have a question related to the fisherman stuff. Will it always be a minimum of 10k GRT? I think that's a bit of a weird. I mean, whoever came up with that idea is not really aligned properly, because like you have the same deposit for like a huge slash, and for the like if you're trying to dispute a small indexer, you'll still have to deposit that minimum GRT. I think it's a better idea to have the minimum GRT for deposit as a percentage of the potential slash or something like that. What do you think, Ford?
Well, maybe I can chime in on that, because we've had discussion
sure.
on that subject earlier this year, where some ideas like what you've mentioned have been brought forward. I think at this point we settled on 10,000. I think it is a good idea to see how well that number works. And if we see that not being the most effective number, and that there are changes desired by the community, it can be brought up at the point in time when, for example, you feel we should talk about a change. So from that perspective, I don't think it's ever set in stone, but I do think it makes sense to give it some time to see how well it works.
Yeah, like I said, I just find it weird that you need the same amount of GRT for a huge slash versus a very small slash, which doesn't basically protects all the small indexers from slashing, because no one gives a damn about them and their 10 GRT that you're gonna get from slashing in case of a dispute.
Yeah, I mean, so that goes into the high-level incentives of the network, which involve like using stake weight as a proxy for security.
Yeah.
It's also one data point is it is nice to have it not be prohibitively expensive for fishermen to act on the network.
Yeah, I think it's a really good idea to make it dynamical. Like depend of the potential slashing amount.
Yeah.
It'll be really nice.
Yeah, it's. I mean, the concept makes fundamental sense, right? To have it proportional to the rewards. Right now, it's not, and therefore, larger indexers are subject to be targeted more frequently than smaller ones. Right? So that's the current thinking there. What you express, Payne. Again, I think
exactly.
It's a valid proposal and an idea. If you feel strongly about it, that you would want to introduce that at this point, I would suggest, starting a forum post or continue a forum post that we've had this discussion on in the past. I don't know exactly which forum post that was.
Yeah, I think I even replied to that one specifically, and I think I mentioned variable slashing. Sorry, I don't. No, it was like something else. Never mind. But yeah, I'll just start a new forum post probably today or tomorrow.
I think you should add it to the existing one, and
if you can find it, yeah, please pass it to me.
Yeah, okay, I will send it to you without problem.
Awesome.
And additional thing, we are thinking about it a lot, like past time. As you know about BTE, one of our subgraphs has some problem with signaling tokens, and the team of these subgraphs does not care about decentralized network at all for more than 1 month, and some indexers allocate to it. And
you mean OPIN? Yeah.
Yeah. It's some kind of professional deformation when you're starting to think speaking about some indexers by their hash without instead of name.
Happens to me as well.
Yeah, and one thing that will be really helpful if we can add to the arbitration charter, if your allocation is a subject of dispute and it will be decided as a win of the fisherman, it will be also nice to decline any rewards from these allocations, not only slashing for the your own stake. Because in this case, as we can see now, some small indexers can allocate without any problems. For example, 1 million sell stake and 16 times more other delegation amount, more than 16 millions as a allocation for this broken subgraph, and amount of slashing for them will be several times less than rewards from these malicious actions. And so it's some kind of weird.
Interesting. I don't think we should be slashing for broken subgraphs, to be honest.
No, it's not about slashing for broken subgraphs. It's some kind of, I think you totally understand what I mean about particular subgraph, and when community have 100% agree with it, maybe not 100, but 99% of the community agree to these malicious actions, and a couple of indexers thinking okay, malicious, but it's not a problem at all for me because rewards will be much higher than slashing amount. Okay, I will do that.
Yeah, so but then we have the slashing, the what is called the variable slashing.
And how
I don't know how it will gonna play in that part particular.
The thing is that the network and isn't in correspondence with, which was basically only a draft of the arbitration charter. I think I checked recently, and a few days ago, a week ago, somebody added 35k in curation to the OPIN subgraph. I think the original dev might not even have withdrew their curation signal. So there is a ton of signal on this subgraph that is supposedly broken. The arbitration charter is not ratified in whatever way or another. So what are we to do? There is a lot of signal on there, and indexes are supposed to follow the signal.
Yeah, so keep allocating. Just my honest opinion.
Yeah, I think you're getting to the root of the problem here, which is that there's still a bunch of signal on a subgraph that is maybe not valuable and not being queried. And you as indexers are incentivized to index that. So I don't think that's bad behavior. So we kind of need to get down to figuring out how to make sure that the signal is moving around the network correctly.
Exactly.
Yeah, I agree with you, but only partially, because in the same time, I can go right now to my PC and just create some subgraph, as Midnight Phone did, actually. And I will broker it by myself, and after that I will just redirect all of our rewards from P2P to this failed subgraph, and we'll get a lot of rewards, and it will be totally okay from your side.
Forum post coming.
Okay, fine.
Okay, cool. Definitely grabbing popcorn for that. Thank you very much for it. Okay, cool. So, if anyone else, does anyone else want to discuss anything about arbitration, or can we end the meeting for today? I suppose not. Cool. Well, thank you very much to everyone that attended the number 27th Indexer office hours, and I hope we can see you next week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thanks,
Have
everyone.
a good night.
Have a great week.